Today, I will tell you about a very interesting historical riddle, which at the moment can be considered one of the fundamental evidence in favor of alternative versions of history. And in this video, you will learn what a slum fan is, see how a rock lays eggs, and the most interestingly, you will learn what ancient stages looked like before. Watch the video until the end. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel. Executed ancient Roman criminals. Rob Wiseman of the University of Cambridge, together with scientists from the UK and Norway, investigated graves in 3 late Roman cemeteries discovered at the Knob Farm in Cambridgeshire. In total, archaeologists found the remains of 52 people in 3 cemeteries, with 17 people beheaded and 13 buried face down. Most of the people were buried in separate graves, but 2 double burials and 4 secondary burials were also found. All artifacts from burials date back to the 4th century AD. Scientists noted that during the 3rd-4th centuries in the Roman Empire, the number of crimes for which the death penalty was imposed increased sharply, from 14 to 60. Based on this, archaeologists came to the conclusion that the necropolis discovered at the Knob Farm arose as a result of judicial execution. After the execution, the bodies were probably buried by friends or relatives. Various funeral rituals do not appear to be associated with beheadings. Face-down burial is likely to be execution-related, and scholars speculate that it may be an expression of the family's reaction to the act, a designation for a criminal, or a means of preventing an uprising from the grave. Slum fan. Imagine that once there were no air conditioners or even fans, and at the same time, in hot countries, it was as hot as it is now. And if for the indigenous people of Africa and India, nature itself tried to make it cooler for them in the fierce heat, then it was hard for a white man in sultry countries. For example, the heat was not easy for the British in India, where the average temperature in spring and summer exceeds 40 degrees. In addition, in the 19th century, a respected gentleman, and even more so a lady, could not wear shorts, a t-shirt or a light sundress, only tunics, suits and fluffy dresses. It is difficult in such conditions to bear the burden of a white man. To the aid of the white-skinned British came panka, a piece of cloth suspended from the ceiling, set in motion by an Indian using a rope mechanism. The Hindu usually pulled the string in the next room, so not to embarrass a gentleman with his appearance and so as not to inadvertently overhear important conversations about the colonization of Indian lands. Despite the remote nature of the fans' work, deaf employees were especially appreciated who, if they wanted to, could not overhear anything. The job was tedious, but it was considered good luck for an Indian to get a job as a panka operator in a British house. Pankas were installed not only in homes, but also in churches. Large premises like a church hall were served by a few pankayers. Panka has long been known in India, but in Europe for a long time it was believed that it was the British who brought this invention to India at the end of the 18th century, like other benefits of civilization. Curiously, automatic panka was never introduced, and before the advent of electricity, the comfort of the British in the heat was provided by a Hindu with a rope. The rock lays stone axe. China is a distinctive country, the culture and traditions of which go back centuries. China knows how to surprise foreign tourists. This time, the attention of the whole world was riveted by the village of Gulu, located in the province of Guizhou. There is a cliff called Chandia, which lays stone eggs. Eggs are spherical stone formations up to 20-60 centimeters in diameter. The weight of such a spherulite is about 300 kilograms. The fruiting surface of the cliff is not large. Its area is 525 meters. It takes an average of 30 years for each egg to mature. At first, stone formations barely show through the surface of the cliff, then gradually separate from the main rock and fall to the ground. Stone eggs are bluish in color. They are hard and smooth as a rock. On their surface, you can see lines resembling annual growth rings. The cliff's ability to lay stone eggs was discovered in 2009. Since then, then, the inhabitants of the village of the Gulu have collected about 70 spherical stone formations. Locals believe that stone eggs have miraculous powers, bring good luck, and promote the conception of boys in young families. Therefore, they are in every village family. Plate with mysterious ancient text. During excavations in a place called Pico de los Ayos, which is also one of the important monuments of ancient Iberia, archaeologists discovered a lead plate engraved with a mysterious ancient text. Thousands of years ago, the mysterious state of the Iberians lived in Spain. Scientists have little information about them, especially about their language. It is only known that they were a warlike people. Until now, not a single scientist in the world has been able to recognize and translate their language. Scientists who studied the plate could not only determine that the inscription was made in the archaic Iberian language. Initially, when the plate was found, it was curved, but despite this, the text was on both sides. Scientists believe that they form a single text, but what it means is unknown. According to their assumptions, the plate with the text was made between the 3rd and 4th centuries BC. Scientists were able to identify some Iberian symbols, but at the same time they claim that this is an archaic letter that is supposedly deciphered. Similar plates with later texts had already fallen into the hands of specialists, but only after they were seized from illegal traders. This plate is the only official one that was discovered during excavations. Lead plate scholars say were common in the Iberian culture who inscribed their letters on them. Pico de los Ayos is located on the territory of the city of Yatova. Scientists believe that it was inhabited since the 7th century BC, until its destruction, which occurred between the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD. So in this city there may be a large number of such plates that are waiting for their finest hour. Sarcophagus of the Visigothic era. A magnificently carved sarcophagus was discovered this Thursday by a team of researchers from the University of Murcia in a Roman villa in southeastern Spain. According to La Opinion de Murcia, the impressively preserved sarcophagus is 2 meters long and decorated with carved concentric curls and stylized ivy leaves on a gabled roof. In style, the sarcophagus dates back to the Visigoth period between the 6th and 7th centuries AD. Experts note that this sarcophagus is the only one of its kind ever found in the southeast of Spain. The site where the sarcophagus was discovered, Villa Los Vilarios, is residential and agricultural complex built on the left bank of the Mula River in the second half of the 1st century. This complex was actively used until about the first half of the 5th century and is considered the largest and best preserved of all Roman estates found in Murcia. What exactly was provided at the villa, scientists do not yet know, but it is known that Murcia was famous for minerals, wheat, olive oil, marble, sandstone, and coastal fishing. It is also known that the villa was quite seriously modernized and expanded in the 3rd century, and presumably was used in different ways at different stages of development. The mystery of ancient structures. In the photographs, you can see a strange structure carved straight out of a monolithic rock. As you can see from the pictures, the rock is clearly not made of a material that can be easily handled with any stick. In other words, many tools with high strength were needed to process it. Based on the shape of the structure, we can say that if we take into account the simple tools that the Incas could own at the time, then it could only be made by chipping. As you can understand, after chipping, there are rather characteristic marks from the used tools, by which it is easy to determine which tool was used in the work. Here is the simplest example for clarity. However, on the structures of the Incas, there are no traces at all from the primitive tools used, not to mention the traces of rock chipping. Besides this, there is another interesting point. If you look closely at the photo, you will notice that the rightmost part of the rock is not fully processed, but even in the transitions between the processed and unprocessed parts, there are no traces of tools. So how then were these structures created? Pay attention to the joint where the arrow points. It is far from the most ordinary and has a rounded shape. If we forget about many other oddities, then we can assume that the Incas first created structures with sharing tools and then well processed its surfaces to such a state. The lack of tools used is a mystery not only for independent researchers but also for scientists, so this issue can rightfully be called a real mystery of history. Ancient Greek sculptures. Nothing lasts forever under the moon. Even unique works of art and masterpieces of architecture are subject to the destructive influence of time. Since childhood, we are accustomed to the fact that Greek and Roman statues have a faded stone color. But recent research by Vincenz Brinkmann and other archaeologists has debunked the myth of fading of ancient statues. Infrared and ultraviolet radiation allowed experts to see traces of paint on antique sculptures and restore their original appearance. It turned out that lifeless and monochromatic statues once shone with bright colors that have worn off over many centuries. Vincenz Brinkmann made copies of some of the antique artworks and painted them in their original colors. Now these statues are on display in an exhibition that travels to museums around the world. 2,300 years old treasure. Specialists from the Sharjah Archaeology Authority have discovered 409 valuable coins that have been stored in a heavy earthen jug for centuries. When the researchers found this 9-kilogram vessel, they immediately suspected that there were rare artifacts inside, according to Sabah Abud Qasim, CEO of Sharjah's Office of Archaeology. When the jug was carefully opened in the control laboratory, they saw that it was filled to the brim with silver coins. They date back to the 3rd century BC. Archaeologists believe that coins were minted and distributed in the area. Among the found coins, there are unique designs, but most of them are quite traditional for their time. On some coins you can see images of the commander Alexander the Great and the Greek god Zeus. The settlement of the Mliha was once an important center of commerce in the Arabian Peninsula. After many ancient artifacts were first found in the sands of Mlika in 1990, the town gained fame as a center of archaeology. It turned out that this area of Sharjah is replete with antiquities that literally lie underfoot. If you liked the video, tell your friends about it and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your views, bye everyone!